city company that we hired?
Yeah.
Know what it is?
Right. Just doing a state thing. Most of the time you're gonna pull out. Make me do it. All right, great. Yeah, yeah. I'm not even gonna this. Just make me a figure as you can roll with it.
He's in Canada.
Yeah.
Did yours?
See, he's the last.
It's nice and tight right now. I just did it. Appreciate that. You're welcome. It's still close. Still close. Yeah, can you zoom out a little bit? You want me to? Yeah.
Good evening, welcome to the Monday, February 3rd City Council meeting. Clerk, please.
Alderman Santee?
Here.
Alderman Glad?
Here.
Alderman Schaefer?
Here.
Alderman Harding?
Here.
Alderman McHenry?
Here.
Alderman Devine?
Here.
Alderwoman Miller? Here.
Thank you. We have the Cub Scouts Pack 214 here. Can you two come up and start us off with the pledge? You want to introduce yourself? What's your name?
Hayden.
What was the name?
Carson? Perfect. All right, you want to start us off?
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you try again?
What did we say?
Thank you, boys.
Good job, guys.
Is there anyone here for public comment at this time? No? Moving on to the consent agenda, items 5A through 5C. Is there any council members wanting to pull any items for separate consideration? See none, I'm looking for a motion for 5A through 5C as presented. Alderman Santee?
I'll make that motion as presented.
Thank you. Second? Alderman Mahavik?
Second.
Discussion? Alderman Glenn?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up as far as the capital improvement plan that it's created this year, and every year we create it, and there will be changes probably as we go down the road. And I talk about streets as well as the fact that I know we have ideas of what we're going to do in the next 5 years, but things do change, and the weather takes a toll. I'm sure in the spring, all of a sudden, some of our streets will look different than they did when we took the surveys last year. And I just wanted to bring up the fact again, usually Administrator Morph takes and brings it up as far as the fact that it is just a working document and, you know, we work it every year.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Santee,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik,
Yes.
Alderman Glad,
Yes.
Alderman Schaper,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller.
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Item 6A on the individual action items was pulled from this evening. We'll bring that back at the next meeting.
Yeah, that was just, we put it on there as a placeholder before this agenda went out, and we just didn't get it off before the agenda. We didn't get the information in time, so we'll get it on the next meeting.
All right, next item on the agenda is 6B, is discussion to grant a sign variance at 3610 West Elm Street for one additional freestanding sign and a variance to allow for a combined total sign area of 125 square feet. Any questions, comments by council? Alderman Glad?
Do we know what, I guess it doesn't relate exactly to the sign, but to that property, and, you know, several years back, the fire department had that building torn down, and you've got an empty lot, and they really haven't done anything with it.
We have plans right now for the expansion of their parking lot.
I'm sorry, for what?
The expansion of their parking lot.
Expansion of their parking lot.
Correct.
Do we have any idea when they're gonna start working on it, or is that gonna be
Hopefully, yeah,
part
the
of
spring.
Okay.
Yep.
Like I said, it's been sitting there for several years, and I just was curious, but I figured what a perfect time to ask for it.
Right, this
What's
is
going on.
actually part of their,
Total
the
remodel?
project that they're doing right with the parking lot, yes.
Okay. All I ask is they don't put a target on it like the last one they had up, and we'll be fine.
Any other questions or comments by council? Open up for discussion, comments by the public? See none, moving back to the council for approval, a motion for 6B as presented. Alderman Schaper.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Alderman Harding. Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Schaper,
Yes.
Alderman Harding,
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik,
Yes.
Alderman Devine,
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller,
Yes.
Alderman Glad,
Yes.
Alderman Santee.
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is 6C, a discussion to authorize staff to publicly bid for the 2020 motor fuel tax road resurfacing program. Troy, you want to go ahead and present this?
Sure, thank you, Mayor. This is the program that was recommended in the February Public Works Committee meeting. As you're all aware, we're trying to utilize a different process this year to bid out early and schedule the construction work early so that we're not running up against the winter as we have in the years past. So again, it's just, we are requesting authorization to go out for bid for the 2020 motor fuel tax funded program.
Thank you, Troy. Any discussion, comments by council? Alderman Glad?
For one, I'm disappointed that we're going so early because of the fact that I brought this up at the committee level, and that's the fact that in the past, we've always taken and done these bids later in the year because we've always seemed to get better pricing. And maybe the way the economy is, maybe it won't work that way this time around. However, I would have liked to see some alternate streets after I thought about it. We're doing most of a complete subdivision, and it would have been nice to have an alternates to finish that whole road off, even though those other roads are probably graded at a little higher than those that we're doing. It would have been nice to leave a subdivision that's completed and move on. So, you know, what happens if we get a extremely good bid on this? Would we be prepared to do alternates, and would we be thinking about finishing off this subdivision that way?
Well, this subdivision will be completed. As far as, are you referring to other locations?
The crossroads, and again, I don't have names of these streets on there. Like Amberwood Place, we're not finishing it off, or has that road been done just recently? I don't remember that being one of our street programs.
There's a small portion of Amberwood, and Biscayne to the south that is not in the same condition as the rest of the Pell Creek subdivision.
It's
So we're
rated
getting-
higher,
Yeah,
and I understand that. The only thing I'm getting at is, our rating system's a little different than what it used to be in the past. I would have just liked to have seen an entire subdivision done. When we're talking the percentage of streets that are being done right there, we're only talking 2 others, and I just think it would have been nice to see the entire subdivision totally done, as long as we were doing, what, 85% or 80% of it. So, just food for thought for the future, and glad to see that we are doing the grouping to try to get the best price, and that's always a plus. And hopefully, bids come out even more surprisingly than we hope.
Any other questions? Alderman Sandy?
There was definitely some very, very good discussion at the committee level, and what we'd like to do is go out to this bid, and I will listen to other discussion prior to it, but I would just put a minor recommendation here that we just allow, if you would allow the Public Works Committee just to review final numbers and then bring it back to the council. And point being is, one of the items that Alderman Glad brought up is that it is unique. We're seeing if we can get a good number early. We may get some of these companies come in and go for a better number. It may not come in, and if it doesn't, at least I'd like to have Troy and his staff review it before it comes back to this full council, and we just eyeball it, and they give us our recommendations at the committee level, and then whatever we decide there, we move forward. Hopefully there won't be any adjustments on it, but I'd like to see some good numbers. And if they don't come in, guess what? We can go back to bid, later in the year, like I know we've done previous years. That's all I had to write at this time.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Is there anyone in the public that'd like to make a public comment? See none, I'm looking for a motion for 6C as presented. Alderman Santee?
I will make that motion with the addition to do a final review through the Public Works Committee before bringing it back to the full council.
Okay. Second? Alderman Glad?
I'll second.
Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Santee?
Yes.
Alderman Glad?
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer?
Yes.
Alderman Harding?
Yes.
Alderman Rudnick?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller?
Yes.
Thank you, Council. Next item on the agenda is discussion to adopt an ordinance amending Title I, Administration, adding a Chapter 10, reimbursement for costs or damages incurred by city officers, officials, employees of the City of McHenry's Municipal Code. Attorney McCarter will go ahead and take it over from here as far as this item.
So as you know, we spent some time on this with Alderman Mahavik, and we tried to bring the language close to what the statute currently provides, but have the city implement it with some provisions that provide procedures to actually get the job done. I don't have anything else. If everyone had a chance to take a look at it, I think it does what we were intending to do.
So is there any questions, comments regarding this item by council? Alderman Glad?
Yeah, I just want to bring up the fact that I can't support it with the language that talks about the past as well as the present and the future. Makes me wonder what kind of can of worms we could open up. I know that they still have to come to council for approval. Also, I guess the question is to Attorney McCardle, this gets passed, when does it become effective as far as this ordinance?
Theoretically, 10 days from now.
10 days from now, after it's published and everything else. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Is there anyone in the public that would like to make a public comment regarding this item? Seeing none, looking for a motion for 6D as presented. Alderman McHenry.
Make that motion.
Second. Alderman Santee.
I will second the motion.
Discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Mahavik?
Yes.
Excuse me, Alderman Santi?
Yes.
Alderman Glad?
No.
Alderman Schaefer?
Yes.
Alderman Harding?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller?
Yes.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda, 6E, is discussion to reimburse Mayor Wayne Jett for legal fees incurred defending the ethics complaint filed against in the sum of $2,745.10. Attorney McCarroll.
So again, this is what drove the prior action. We learned there was no indemnification ordinance on the books, which is unusual for cities and villages. I think more routinely there is such a indemnity ordinance to supplement the statute. So this is the action item that drove that ordinance, and now it's the action item.
Discussion, comments on this item? Alderman Schaefer?
Just, were you counseled by your attorney to bring them on as a private attorney? Or, I don't know if you have to answer that, but
Well,
I just, who
he-
made that recommendation? Why not just use our own city attorney?
Because we were up here. Remember, we were representing the board.
In
That would have been a conflict. The board was here, the complainant was
Right.
there, and then the respondent was there, so it takes three parties. He could have done it himself.
without an attorney.
Right, but he couldn't have used the city attorney, so we tried to provide for that in the ordinance that we adopted as well. That most of the time that would be a problem. Not always, but most of the time. If it was a court case, we might be able to deal with it.
Any other questions, comments? Alderman Webb?
Yeah, I just want to say that it's been out there for a while, and I've done a lot of contemplating on this. The fact that Wayne Jett as the mayor would not have been, Wayne Jett as a private citizen would not have been at the hearing, but the mayor. However, and again, I wasn't privy to get any minutes or anything else, or not the minutes, but what's the word I want there?
Meetings?
Huh?
Meetings?
Yeah, for the actual
Hearings?
ethics hearing.
The hearings, yeah.
Was there not a regular legal sort of court stenographer
Oh,
or
yeah,
whatever?
court reporter, yeah. I think there was a court
Stenographer.
reporter, yeah.
Okay, so I've never seen those, but I was told that the defense was basically on the fact that he acted as a citizen and not as the mayor, and that was the main defense. So are we?
Well, he didn't use the city devices, city
Suppose.
resources.
That was what they say.
That was what the finding was.
Right.
Right.
But still made me wonder why my roofer got the email when, the only way he would've got the email is from, and again, I'm not gonna bring all that up, but.
You just did.
I just find, okay.
Let's be honest, you just
But
did.
I mean, I'm not gonna get into a detailed argument about it. I just find myself very, in a precarious, situation, and I just find myself, very difficult to support.
Any other questions, comments? Alderman Santee?
I sat through the commission meeting, just listening to it in the audience, and had conversations. I am on record of making the motion. We'll make it tonight if I need to, but to take care of these legal fees, I want to get this past the city, because I do look at this as a black eye on this whole city, and I just want to move forward and make sure we learn from this, and to all of the elected officials and to staff, that we just, I just need to stay in focus and make sure we know what we're doing out there, because it could happen to any of us, or if you stumble a little bit, it could hurt in the long run. That's all I have.
Any other questions, comments by council?
I think my only other comment as one of the newer council people on the seated table is that there was an expectation of indemnification, and I was surprised to learn that we were not indemnified. So it's unfortunate that we had to learn through this process, and I'm glad that we have now passed an ordinance which indemnifies us, because as we sit here, we become public targets. And grateful that we have made the right action, and I support this action as well, to ratify the action that we're taking.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Is there any public comment from the public regarding this item? See none, looking for a motion for 6E as presented. Alderman Santee.
I will make that motion as presented.
Second. Alderman Miller.
I'll second.
Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Santee?
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller?
Yes.
Alderman Devine?
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik?
Yes.
Alderman Harding?
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer?
Yes.
Alderman Glab?
No.
Thank you, council. Next item on the agenda is staff reports. Any staff reports?
We had staff attend the pre-construction meeting for the IDOT resurfacing of Route 31 from between Shamrock south to Edgewood in Prairie Grove. That work is scheduled to begin early May and wrap up end of June. It's just gonna be a short mill and resurface, but that will be happening this spring.
Thank you. Any others?
I had sent the council an email at the end of last week requesting sometimes to meet with all of you one-on-one to discuss the new golf cart UTV draft ordinance before it goes back to council, so I could get some more input from you. If you hadn't responded to that email yet, if you could catch me tonight, maybe provide me some times when you might be available, or if you're not interested in the meeting, that's understandable as well. Just wanted to get everybody's input one-on-one as well.
Thank you.
The State of the City that's hosted by the Chamber of Commerce is Wednesday, February 26th. That's the initial schedule. Remember last year, they actually ran two sessions of it because of the interest. They had one the following day on Thursday, I believe, also last year. And so they're still considering that, but the official date is Wednesday, the 26th of February. So I'll get an email out. We'll get an email out tomorrow to council to respond to that if any council members want to attend.
Thank you. Any other staff reports? I don't have anything. Does any city council have anything? Alderman Glab?
Yeah, I'd just like to bring up what the chief did as far as the golf cart layouts, and I honestly believe that should actually come to council for discussion. I'd rather see it where everybody's input is on record here at the council meeting, and then we can take and adjust it or whatever and bring it back.
It's gonna come to council as a discussion item at the next council meeting.
Okay.
Just prior to that, we wanna make sure that we have at least a
Yeah.
package that's 80% complete, so that way we're not backtracking too much. So we're trying to take everybody's input, come up with the best option that we can, so that way when we bring it to you for a discussion, if you have some minor changes or some major changes, we don't have to make too many of them in order to get you a proposal back. We're trying to meet a May 1st deadline, if in fact that's the way council decides to go. So
I just feel more comfortable just discussing it raw, as you might say, at the council before everybody starts putting their input in it and everything individually. It's always best when you have everybody in one room addressing all the issues, and the logic behind it would be brought out right then and there. So
you don't have to schedule
my
a meeting.
opinion, you know, if we're bringing it back to council, that's great for a discussion item. The other thing I was gonna ask Troy Strange on the major roads that we talked about as far as applying for grant money. What kind of a time frame are we still talking on that?
So our applications are due in March, and we are being told that results of the selection process will be out sometime this summer. I believe it was July, but I need to confirm that. But this summer sometimes, so 2 to 4 month turnaround from application to results.
So the applications will be made this year, but then, when would the final decisions be made and?
So selections, like I said, later this summer, and then, the expenditures as far as the federal funds, won't be until early part of 2021.
2021?
So there will be a lag from application to project selection to, expenditures in that federal fiscal year being allowed.
So in other words, if everything goes our way, the way we want it to, luckily, then we'd be looking at a 2021 construction.
At the very earliest.
Right,
and then
I
that-
say if everything went for our
Yep.
way. Okay, well, at least we've got a target now to hope for, right?
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other city council comments? Seeing none, I also want to mention just real quick, the chief had dropped off an annual report 2019 in front of you, just so you, make sure you take that with you. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Hardy? Second? Alderman Schaefer? Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Harding.
Yes.
Alderman Schaefer.
Yes.
Alderman Glad.
Yes.
Alderman Santi.
Yes.
Alderman Mahavik.
Yes.
Alderman Devine.
Yes.
Alderwoman Miller.
Yes.
Thank you, council, have a good evening. See you, boys. Coming
Bye, Jim.
next meeting, you coming back, or what? Did we scare you, you don't wanna come back anymore?
We'll come back.
Alright.
And nothing better